Welcome back, Raider Nation and my champions. This is Eric, and we are live here Friday night. And tonight we're going to go over the AFC West and what we need to do to take this division away from Kansas City Chiefs, who've had a 6-year stranglehold on it. Not only that, we've seen our other division rivals, the Chargers and the Broncos, step up in free agency and in trades, making big splashes to make the AFC West one of the most competitive divisions in football. I want to say hello to everybody who's in chat right now. I see Sandy B in here. How are you doing? I know there's a few more of you in here. Hey, Earth Daughter, looking and sounding great. I appreciate that. Yes, I did do some upgrades. I have a new microphone here. I also have a brand new camera. It's a little bit better. I don't need as much light. A little bit closer to the microphone. Hopefully you can hear me well. I've tested it. It seems pretty good. Hey, Chevy Silver Raider, how you doing? I see you out there as well. Welcome to the program. I see a few more of you in there, but as always, as we always do, we're going to go right into this. We're going to go right to what we first do, and that is, hang on 1 second, and that's the rundown here. And this is just basically our way, if you're new here, to go through the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight. So basically we're going to talk about new champions. We're going to talk about our poll of the week that we had out. Not only that, we're going to get into the AFC West, see what they've been doing, what their strengths, what their weaknesses are, and what we can do to exploit those. So let's get right onto this. So the first thing I want to talk about, of course, is my new segment I started last time.
Take what they give you. We're going to take what we want.
And that is new champions. Now, those are the new subscribers to the channel. Of course, I always appreciate all of the subscribers, the old school people, but I want to acknowledge some of the new ones that we've had, of course. Now, this isn't all of them, of course. Here, Dominique, I see you in here as well. How you doing? Here's a few of them. Now, of course, if you don't have it set up to show subscriptions, I will not be able to get your name specifically, but there are a lot more. But it includes Mr. JDub34, Akenta Strom, Glenn Nicholson, CT Silver and Black, and of course, Nutty Raider Nate. I love that name. So that puts us right now at about 770. I want to thank you for joining us as new champions, and also the old ones here. I see a lot of you returnees as well. So I understand, Chevy, you just go ahead and listen while you're at work. That's fine. And I know some of you are probably driving. You listen to, you don't have to watch. But I'll be going over the AFC West here. So let's get right into that. And we're going to talk about the poll of the week. And I asked you guys, what do you think our biggest threat is in this division? And almost 60% of you said, actually, it's internally, it's within the Raiders. Now, of course, the new regime has made some good moves, but of course, we're not going to be able to know for sure what happens until they put it all together on the field. I understand that. As far as outside the team, the highest votes was the Chargers, followed by the Chiefs, and then the Broncos. So without further ado, let's get right into this. So first thing I want to do is go into some of the basic stats, and that is just a little summary from the 2021 season. You can see here, I've done this last off season as well. You can kind of see the win-losses and some of the basic stats and where each team stood, so we can kind of get an idea. So first team I want to tackle, of course, is the defending AFC West champions, 6-time champions. And to me, that's the team we're going to have to knock off to win this division, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. So I just wanted to take a look at these guys. 2020 versus 2021. Now, they didn't have any big coaching changes. They had some minor ones coming into this year. Nothing big so far. Of course, they went from 13-3 to 12-5. Not a big difference. The offense is about the same, but the defense kind of took a step back, particularly in the passing game. So that's something we can possibly exploit. So the next thing I want to talk about are some of the key moves that they've made during the offseason. Now, of course, we're going to first talk about Justin Reed, former Texan safety, basically 6'1", 203, basically a replacement for the Honey Badger, signed a 3-year, $31.5 million deal. And that's basically what it is. And then the other one we're going to talk about as far as the ads, and that's due to the subtraction of Tyreek Hill. And that is getting some other wide receivers here. It's not just Tyreek Hill, though. They lost Demarcus Robinson to us. Pringle's a free agent, still out there. So they have Juju Smith-Schuster, basically a possession-type receiver, 1-year deal. And then Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS, signed him for a 3-year, $30 million deal. Pretty good. He's basically kind of the Tyreek light. Obviously, I don't think he's as good, but they're not going to be able to fully replace that loss, in my opinion. And then, of course, I put Orlando Brown here, and I put an asterisk because he was a free agent. They did franchise him, and he signed his franchise tender, so he's going to be making $16.666, so $16.7 million for 1 year, and that was smart for them. Left tackle had a pretty decent season last year for them, and not just with that. So I think I don't have an issue with them doing that specifically. So let's get right to another thing I want to talk about, because we haven't had the draft yet, of course. So we're going to be kind of revisiting this post-draft as well, and that is the salary cap. Now we'll talk about the salary cap as well. So they're about $14 million under the cap right now, and that's from SpotTrack.com. That is based on the top 51 players that they have. Now, some of that can be played around, but listen to this. So 2022 draft, they have 8 draft picks, and 4 of those are in the first round, and that includes 2 first-round picks. So a lot of that play in the salary cap for the Chiefs is going to be used up in the draft. Now, just to give you an example, Alex Leatherwood, last year, our 17th overall pick, got $8 million guaranteed signing bonus. So they have, I believe, the 29th and 30th picks in the first round. So that's going to eat into it, as well as the other picks. So what I'm trying to say here, as far as the Chiefs go, I think they're done as far as making any more big splashes in free agency. They're probably going to pick up a couple of people here and there, like everybody else does, but I'm not going to be looking for them to be doing anything else other than anything significant other than in the draft and late this month.
The other team's quarterback must go down, and he must go down hard.
Now, as far as we do these on their game previews and reviews, so I wanted to take a look at this. We started on the Raiders side of the defensive side of the ball. Now, what I did was here is that I put the new additions in purple. Now, of course, we're early on here in the offseason. This is not a finalized starting list. This is tentative starters as we see them right now, of course. So we gotta keep that in mind. But from what I'm seeing, obviously Tyreek Hill's gone. They've augmented him basically with 2 players. I don't think that's going to be enough, to be honest with you. And here's my first key to right now, from what I'm seeing as far as weak spots that we can exploit. And that is Max Crosby here. I know he had problems with Andrew Wiley last year. That's got to be cleared up. I think that's the weak side here on the right side of the ball. We need to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. That's the bottom line here. And then the second one, of course, is going to be obvious. If you don't know, Tyreek Hill's gone. Who's their next best player here? That is Travis Kelce. You could argue he was the best player even when Hill was there. Carves us up constantly. We're going to have to find a safety that can cover him. Abram can't do the job. Maybe put Merrick on him more. That if we can handle MVS single going down the field, I wouldn't mind that. Juju's more of a possession type guy. They do have some more speed with Hardman, but not nearly as deadly with Tyreek Hill. So those are the 2 areas that we need to go after to slow them down, get to Mahomes, and do what you can to shut down Travis Kelce.
I hear everyone say it. Take what they give you. We're going to take what we want.
Now on the offensive side of the ball, it's a little bit different. Of course, we have Devontae Adams here, as our upgrade, and then they basically swapped out Justin Reed with Honey Badger with Justin Reed. So not a whole lot of difference, but what I've been seeing last year, particularly with Chris Jones, they like to bounce him in, they like to bounce him out. He is deadly. I think he's more deadly inside. The tentative depth charts and starting rosters I was getting from ESPN and PFF, they have him on the outside. I'm not so sure about that, to be honest with you. And I could definitely see the Chiefs going after some defensive end / edge rusher help in the draft with those high draft picks, and then keeping Jones on the inside. And that's going to tell me that these guys on the interior, both James and Denzel Good, I'm going to assume right now Denzel Good's going to be back with the team and ready to go at right guard. That's up in the air right now, but I'm just assuming that right now. And I'm assuming Leatherwood's going to be at right tackle, given what Josh McDaniels said, and we talked about that in the last live stream, where he's going to give him the opportunity to earn that spot at right tackle. And I think he will, especially over Brandon Parker. And then the next one, oh, it skipped. Sorry about that. And the next one is going to be Josh Jacobs, because the Chiefs are not very adept at stopping the run. They can get carved up on the inside rather easily. And not just Josh Jacobs. Again, I've talked about this before. I want a guy inside the tackles that can spell him, that can run the ball and run the ball hard. Not only that, of course, when we can do that, we can move the chains, we can control the time of possession, and keep the ball out of number 15's hands to minimize any damage he can cause. Now, the next team I want to go after right now, obviously, is the team that we had to beat in the play-in game, and that is the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, just by comparison here, you see here, they were 7-9 in 2020 under Anthony Lynn, and I made fun of him with his coaching. And then Brandon Staley came in. Of course, he had that gaffe. We talked about that in the last live stream where he called the timeout, basically screwed his team out of making the playoffs. But just on the base numbers, the offense kind of stepped up. And it wasn't from the running game, of course. It was Justin Herbert coming into his second season. Now, he was no slouch last year or the year before. He was a Rookie of the Year candidate, but he actually won the Rookie of the Year, rather. But he really stepped up this year, had nearly 5,000 passing yards. These include sacks. So he's kind of established himself, in my opinion, as one of the best in the league right now. I'm going to say that right now. Probably I'm going to say top 5, depending on, if Aaron Rodgers retires and all that. But he is for real. He's going to be a threat. We'll talk about how to stop him on the offensive side here in a minute. And then the defense, it kind of took a step back. If you look at these numbers now, I'm not a Gus Bradley apologist, but, overall, our defense was better last year than it was in 2020 under Paul Guenther. And their defense kind of regressed last year if you look at these numbers. Now, that's just some of the numbers, but again, I think like I said, if Gus Bradley would have been kept on, I wouldn't have had a big deal about it. But I do like his replacement, so much more cerebral, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in action as well. So let's get right to what I want to say as far as their key moves. Now, there's going to be a couple of them, a couple of big names here. Of course, J.C. Jackson, former Patriot, paid him a shitload of money. I don't think he's worth that much. His 5-year, $82.5 million deal total. But even if you say, well, he's going to negotiate, he's never going to get all that money. He's got $40 million guaranteed. So you're looking at least 2 of those years right off the bat. I don't see him being worth that. He's good. I don't want to pay a corner that much, to be honest with you. A guy who doesn't really handle the ball that well, you're going to have to augment him with a lot of other players. Now, they did do that. They replaced Nwosu here with Khalil Mack, basically. Now, this one's a little bit different. This isn't a free agent pickup. This is a trade from the Chicago Bears. Now, the Bears got their second-round pick this year and a 6th next year. But not only that, this one's kind of intriguing, and I want to mention this with Khalil Mack. Now, he is going to be due $17 million this year, but next year it's going to be $23 million. And after this year, he is not guaranteed any amount of money under the contract. They basically picked up the Bears contract. So you could very well see the Chargers cutting him, releasing him after this season, in the next offseason. So if they do that, expect the clickbait videos about Khalil Mack coming back to the Raiders. You're going to hear it. Personally, I probably wouldn't want him. He's probably going to be overpriced, to be honest with you. But I would not be surprised if Mack only lasts a season here. And then the third one, I put an asterisk here, Mike Williams. They just basically re-signed him, 3 years, $60 million, $20 a year. And frankly, with the wide receiver market the way it is, this is a good deal for him. You got the elite guys making 25 to 30, and he's probably a step below that. So that 20 million's about right for him. Solid player, and Keenan Allen's not getting any younger, so that was pretty good. And I already talked about Nwosu, so let's talk about the salary cap. Now, they have 18 million over the salary cap right now, and they have 10 draft picks, but a lot of them are in the back end, a lot of compensation picks. So I think with the Chargers, they could go after a guy, and I keep saying his name, Larry Ogunjobi, if he can pass the physical. They could afford to get this guy if they don't address the defensive tackle position in the draft.
The other team's quarterback must go down, and he must go down hard.
Now, we're going to go over the Raiders' defensive side, their offensive side first. And, of course, they didn't have a really big change here. They got Gerald Everett from Seattle, who spent 1 year there. But with Everett, you got to look 2 years ago when he was with the Rams, had a 1-2 punch with Tyler Higbee at tight end. Pretty good player. I would not necessarily count him out here. So what I'm thinking is that he'll be decent, but my first thing is we got to see Chandler Jones in action here. Now, Rashawn Slater is no slouch. He's a pretty darn good left tackle, but I want to see him use and abuse the young guy. Have the veteran take him down, attack them strength for strength. This is the strength of this team, especially in the offensive line, is right there on that left side. And I want to see that happen. And then the other one, of course, and I was saying it last year during the season, and that's stopping this guy. Gus Bradley couldn't do it. I'm hoping Coach Graham, I'm not going to say hope. I have confidence that Coach Graham can do it. Much more cerebral guy. Just to give you a clue, Eckler, the 2 games we played against him last year, he had almost 250 total yards, rushing and receiving, and 4 total touchdowns. Unacceptable. This is the guy. I know a lot of people will say Herbert is the man. I'm going to say Eckler is the worst as the Raider killer for us. Not necessarily Herbert. He is good too. But I think it's much more important slowing him down, not only in the running game, but also passing out of the flat, which, frankly, Gus Bradley's defense was terribly deficient in.
I hear everyone say, take what they give you. We're going to take what we want.
Now, on the offensive side of the ball for us, they had a lot of changes on their end. Now, their defensive line is, I've been mocking it and making fun of it for quite some time. Jerry Tillery, again, former first-round pick. He was supposed to end up being that nose guy. Didn't pan out. They moved him out. He's still not that good there. Kenneth Murray, a first-round pick here inside. Not so good. Kazir Whitehead left, so Drew Tranquil's projected the starter right now. And he gave us fits, especially in the first game with his blitz packaging. And I got to put that on there right now. Is this right side of the line? You could go from James all the way over. We looked bad in that first game. And not only that, I would say Austin Johnson from the Giants and Sebastian Joseph Day are, I would say, they're upgrades he was from the Rams. They were upgrades from what they had before. But that's like saying, well, if we got Bobby Massey at right tackle, that's an upgrade from Brandon Parker, because Brandon Parker was terrible. Bobby Massey's decent. So not a big threat, but then you throw Bosa in there and you have Drew Tranquil blitzing. This could be a problem over here on this right side of the line. It's still got to prove itself. And again, I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs here because, again, this team can be carved up the middle just like the Chiefs. They're built very similarly. Offensive dynamo, passing game, trying to get pass rushers on the defensive side. I think the Chargers were a little bit better in the secondary, but in the middle, not so much. Even with the draft capital they spent, again, we need to pound the ball again, keep the ball away from that high-powered offense, and just like we did with Patrick Mahomes. Now, of course, the last team we're going to talk about is the Denver Broncos, but don't necessarily sleep on them. Now, it's kind of amazing because they went from 5-11 to 7-10. Statistically, they improved on the offense and the defensive side, yet Vic Fangio got fired. They brought in a new guy. We'll talk about him right now as far as the key ads. And, of course, I'm going to have to include the head coach because it's a new regime change. But I want to first talk about Russell Wilson, the big name they brought in. Now, basically, they took on the remainder of his deal, 2 years, $51 million, which frankly isn't that much for a quarterback. He's set to be making $24 million this year. But as far as the deal goes, what they gave up was a ton. In my opinion, a bunch, especially for a guy who's going to be turning 34 years old in November of this year during the season. They gave up 2 1s, 2 2s, a 5, and 3 players. Well, 2.5 players. I count Drew Lock as like half a player because he sucks so bad. But still, Noah Fant's pretty good. Shelby Harris, their Batman, he won a game against us, batting the ball away. Pretty decent 3-4 defensive end type guy. I know he's getting a little older. He's been dinged up with injuries, but still, even without those players, it's, to me, way too much draft capital. This kind of reeks of desperation. They're trying to reinvent the Peyton Manning signing and try to get another Super Bowl here. That's what it sounds like to me. Another guy they picked up was Randy Gregory from the Cowboys. Now, free agent guy, 5 years, $70 million. Again, I think this is way too much for a guy who's, frankly had some issues off the field as well. I don't see. I think it's like $28 million guaranteed. So that's at least like 2 years of it guaranteed. So I don't really see it. I mean, when he plays, he can play pretty decently. To me, he's kind of high and low. Kind of like a pass rushing Trayvon Mullen. You'll see the highs and the lows. But the last one I want to talk about is the head coach here. That's Nathaniel Hackett, former Green Bay Packer offensive coordinator. This is what this team's needed for a while. They've needed a quarterback. They needed somebody who knows what they're doing on offense. I mean, they had Teddy Bridgewater in. The numbers kind of went up from Drew Lock. So, but the thing is it him or is it Aaron Rodgers? That's the big question I have with this. And as far as losses go, they haven't had any huge ones in free agency. I had to put Von Miller because he was the face of the franchise, Super Bowl MVP. But they traded him mid-season or near the end of the season last year, near the deadline, to the Rams for a second and third round pick. And that gets us to the salary cap and their draft standing. They have $15 million under the cap, so they're sitting pretty right now. And they have 7 draft picks, no firsts. Of course, they lost their second in the Russell Wilson deal as well, but they have the Rams' second round pick. That's going to be their first draft pick in this draft.
The other team's quarterback must go down, and he must go down hard.
Now, as far as stopping them offensively here, our keys to the defense. Now, if you look here, obviously Russell Wilson's here. They have a new right tackle. I talk about Bobby Massey. He's in free agency, and they're not going to pick him. They're not going to sign him. They signed Turner. So I would say the biggest thing, of course, it just makes sense, is Russell Wilson. Now, I've talked about this before. I'm not so sure if he is on the decline or not, and maybe Seattle was crazy like a fox getting 2 1s and 2 2s for this guy. But, I mean, he went to the playoffs every year except last year. They went 7-10. He won a Super Bowl, MVP. So there is some credentials with that, but I would be very interested to see him this year against the AFC West. Particularly, we have a lot of edge rushers in our division. Now, that said, this offensive line has done pretty well. They improved, especially Lloyd Cushenberry here. I just put Cush. I didn't want to fill the whole screen up with his name. They did improve last year. I slammed their offensive line last offseason. They were a little bit better. And you know what? That's going to be my second defensive key is this guy right here. Believe it or not, Javonte Williams. Now, he split carries basically in his rookie season with Melvin Gordon. It looks like Gordon's not coming back. He's still a free agent. Nobody signed him. Maybe they will re-sign him. Maybe they'll draft somebody later on as a backup. But I think this is going to be the guy here. North Carolina. I think this could be, especially if you play fantasy, look out for this guy. A lot of edge rushers in our division, but a lot of issues stopping the ball. And with Wilson's maneuverability, even at 33, he can still, get away and escape. I mean, he's not Patrick Mahomes anymore, but still, that's going to open it up for Javonte Williams, in my opinion.
And I hear everyone say it, take what they give you. We're going to take what we want.
Now, as far as us on our offensive side, now, of course, they added Randy Gregory. They did get G.J. Jones. They're projecting him as a 3-4 defensive end. I don't think he's big enough to play nose, and so I'm probably agreeing with that. And then they got Singleton as well from the Eagles. This defense is kind of similar as far as being able to be had in the middle, but the first thing I want to do is we have to spotlight Devontae Adams. Now, I didn't talk about him. I didn't talk about him going up against J.C. Jackson. There was a big thing when the Packers played the Patriots, owning him. But, I mean, they have a rookie, Patrick Surtain, here, coming in his second year now. This is kind of what I was saying with Chandler Jones owning Rashawn Slater. I have the same kind of attitude. He has to kind of teach this kid a lesson, in my opinion, and frankly earn his money. Again, not so. The Kareem Jackson's going to be gone. And then the next one I'm going to say is Hunter Renfrow, to be honest with you, in the slot. Why did they take that out? Hunter Renfrow in the slot, and this is why. Bryce Callahan, I know he got hurt, but he was one of the best slot cornerbacks I've seen around, especially since we had to play these guys twice a season. Small, scrappy. His backup, no good. I think this is a matchup that we can exploit, and I think it's all going to be about being able to hold the line enough, which I think we can overall, for Carr to get to these receivers and burn the Broncos. But enough of me and talking. I want to know what you guys have to say. So I have a question for you. What do you guys think our toughest division rival will be this year? So put it in the comments below. I did see Safwan Ben Malik come on in. How you guys doing? And a number of other people. Let's see. Got a few more people in here that are talking, but that's okay. If you are enjoying this, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to this or you're watching this on a replay, I would encourage you to subscribe so you get the notifications, and that way you can join us live and be part of the discussion as well. Let's see. Safwan Ben Malik says the Chargers. The Chargers are going to be an interesting team. I think they overpaid, though. J.C. Jackson's pretty good. Mack was pretty solid. I think he was really good his first year at Chicago. After that, he's been okay. I'm not sure he's worth $23 million in the next year in 2023. I don't think the Chargers are going to keep him. So he'll probably find a team, maybe the Rams, try to win a championship or, somebody close. That would be my guess. Dominique says, honestly, all of them. I don't think any game will be easy. Well, neither do I. But there are some matchups that we need to exploit. And like I said, that with the Chiefs and the Chargers, they are still weak in the middle. Now, I talked about in the draft, Jordan Davis is going to be there. I would be hugely surprised if he is still there past the Chargers pick. To me, that fills a huge need, a run stuffer. Like I said, Tillery did not work out. I think they've improved with those other two guys, but I don't think they're going to be the man. So let's see. Israel, I see you in here. Israel 2010 says, I still believe the Chiefs are the team to beat. They have a lot of playoff experience and know what it takes to get to the Super Bowl. Yes, and like Ric Flair says, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And I fully believe that. And not like you said, and it's not just in football. You've seen basketball. I remember watching Michael Jordan, and he had to lose to the Pistons a couple times to get that playoff experience to Pistons and Celtics. He didn't win right out the gate. So I think it's the same kind of thing. They have the experience in the playoffs more so than anybody else in the division. So I know Denver won it, but who's there that's that was with the Bronco team? I mean, I'm not counting that. I mean, we went to the playoffs last year, so we got a little bit, but we didn't go very far. They went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. Then they went and lost to the Super Bowl the following year. They were in the playoffs again. They've won it. They've won the division 6 times in a row. So ultimately, everybody has to gun for the Chiefs and knock them off the pedestal because they've been the team for so many years. It is what it is. Dominique says, if the Chargers get Jordan Davis, my God, would that be scary? Yes, that would be scary. Can you imagine him taking Andre James and throwing him about, 5-10 feet? I could see that. I mean, it's going to be tough. I think our interior offensive line, this is what I think. I think Leatherwood's going to be moved back to right tackle. I'm not going to say he's great. I'm not going to say he's going to be a Colton Miller on the other side, but I think he'll be serviceable. I think he'll be decent at right tackle. This is my predictions, but I still have questions inside, right? Andre James is still a question in my opinion. He started awful. He did better as the season went on, but he's still not great. Denzel Good was hurt the first week of the season against Baltimore. Is he even going to be playing? Is he going to even be on the team? John Simpson was up and down. It's going to be tough. Maybe that's, like I said before, I think that maybe that's why we signed Alex Bars to a contract, because he's flexible. I'm not so sure how confident our coaching staff, our new regime, is in the interior offensive line. Let's see. Safwan Ben Malik says, I'm most worried about left guard. Yes, John Simpson. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Simpson, there were times where he looked awful, but there were times where he's like, oh, well, not bad. I think, again, this is another draft pick. I think third, fourth round pick that was probably a little bit of a reach by our previous regime. He went to Clemson, right? So they love their Clemson guys. They like to overreach on certain players from certain schools. But, I mean, what's done is done. They're gone. I was really looking forward to seeing what the new regime was going to do with our first-round pick. However, of course, they traded that for Devontae Adams. But I'm happy with that. I mean, we have arguably one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in the league in a division that's going to be crazy this year. Let's admit it. I mean, the only other division that you could argue that's tougher is the NFC West. And now that Russell Wilson's over here, what's Seattle going to do? They were 7-10 last year, and their best player's gone. So, Safwan Ben Malik also says, Jordan Davis is scary good, but he was also playing at 365, 385 pounds and was subbing out every 2 or 3 downs. He slimmed down for the combine. Huge. Yeah, I did the combine live stream. I also did a video just on Jordan Davis, if you want to check that out. Very agile for his size. He's still big man. I know he lost weight, but still a big man. He moves like he's about 20, 30 pounds less than he is. So, now is that indicative of how he's going to be in the NFL, or did he just slim down to look good so he could be picked early and he's going to pull a Trent Brown and go eat some more cheeseburgers afterwards? I don't know. Be very interesting to see. Again, though, there are certain teams that need defensive tackle, especially teams that are running the 3-4. Again, I don't think we're going to be doing that predominantly, at least this year. I know Patrick Graham has used it, but he uses a lot of different things. Not only that, we don't have the personnel for it. And Max Crosby is, he's a 4-3 guy. If you look at him, he's a hand in the dirt 4-3 defensive end. He's not big enough to play 3-4 defensive end, and I don't see him standing up like a Joey Bosa. So let's see. Yeah, Raider had great footage. Yeah, it was so good. I got a copyright hit for it. That's how good it was, Sandy B. So go over there and enjoy it. The NFL needs a few more nickels, so hook that up for him. Yeah. So anyway, like I said, I think this division is going to be a dogfight, but I have faith in the players we have that we could not only be competing in this division, just like we did last year, despite all the nonsense, but we can win this division. Honestly, I feel we can win this division. I think it's going to take a lot more discipline. The penalties got to go away. It's absolutely on both sides of the ball, more so on the offensive side. Finally, we could bring back those stats, but it was just amazing a number of offensive line penalties we had, the holding penalties, the movement penalties, just totally undisciplined. Tom Cable is supposed to be this guru, and he looked like crap. I don't know if he just mailed in the season or what the hell was going on. And then of course, with the whole Gruden thing and then the Ruggs thing, and there's a lot of players on this team with a lot of intestinal fortitude. I've been a Raider fan of a long time, several decades, and I remember the 90s, the 2000s, and some of those teams, if that stuff would have happened to them, we would have went 4-12. They would already be scheduling their tee times, honestly, and a lot of these players stepped up and basically willed themselves into the playoffs. I don't think they were good enough to win a Super Bowl last year, especially with the offensive line issues. The defensive line is still a question mark, in my opinion. Bilal Nichols looked decent, but is that a buy? I mean, he's not a superstar. Like I said, a guy like Ogunjobi is way better than him if he can play. But was he a byproduct of his system, though, with the Bears? A lot of good talent there, Akeem Hicks right next to him, Khalil Mack, who's now with the Chargers. So it'll be interesting. But I have faith in the new regime and what they're doing. I would still like to get some more help inside there. Let's see. You guys have anything else to say about the state of the wild west? And I know Carr gets a lot of crap and a lot of heat, but there's times where he does make mistakes, but there's times where he can lead the team and win the game. So I mean, a lot of haters will say, well, it was Carlson who kicked the ball. Well, then Tom Brady, how many Super Bowls did he win, on field goals at the end with the Philly one, the Carolina? I mean, it's like, give me a break. If you can drive the ball down, fourth quarter drives, I have to look the stat up lately, but at one point I know since he's been in the league in 2014, he had the most fourth quarter drives from 2014 on. So our fourth quarter comeback drives. So I'd have to revisit that. But if he's not number one, he's probably up there in the top 2 or 3. So he has it. He does make some stupid mistakes at times. He locks onto receivers. He can get rattled at times. Joey Bosa was kind of right there. If he feels the heat, he'll crumple up. And he needs to get some gloves. I don't know how many years we have to go by with him fumbling the ball out of bounds or across an end zone. That needs to be fixed. But he's an above average quarterback, and I think he's good enough to take us all the way. Let's see. Dominique says people are really sleeping on Russell Wilson. He'll play great and be rejuvenated. He's got a lot of good football left. Well, again, he's 33. Going on 34. He's going to be playing a mile high. The air's a little thinner there. And it's going to be interesting to see him play. Can he scramble like he used to? Maybe not. But, I mean, he can still move around. Still got some good wide receivers up there. You got Cortland Sutton. You got Jerry Jeudy, who's not bad if he doesn't drop the ball. if you looked at my graphic, what's his name? I wrote it down. Okwigboonam. I just called it Big O, the tight end who's probably going to be starting in place of Noah Fant now. I mean, he's not bad. He's not a bad player. So, yeah, I mean, he does have some weapons. And Javonte Williams, he's looked pretty good. I mean, if Melvin Gordon wasn't so solid, and I think Williams had some fumbling issues there early on, I believe. A couple fumbles early in the season. I mean, look for that guy. He could be a guy you could scoop up in fantasy. Just a side note, but they're not going to be a pushover. I know we swept them last year, but I'm not so sure about the head coach, to be honest with you. I mean, where was he against the 49ers? You know, low scoring game, nothing was happening. You know, I attribute the success in Green Bay to Devontae Adams, to James Jones, Aaron Rodgers, of course. So as far as the offensive side of the ball, so I'm not real impressed, to be honest, with the hiring. So not worried about that. Let's see. That's going to be the big question, though. Does Russell Wilson have anything left in the tank and can propel Denver to a playoff berth? That would be amazing, wouldn't it? That means one of the teams in the AFC West will be out, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't see it happening. Honestly, I think they're going to be contending. They're going to be in every game. I think the defense is good and good enough to keep them in every game. But I'm not totally convinced on Russell Wilson, especially at this time. That'd be a good question, though. How many teams do you think will make the playoffs in the AFC? We'll put that in there right now. So. Let's see. Safwan Ben Malik says, I don't think Russ is as good as people think. I think the opposite. Max and Jones are speed rushers. He struggles against those the most. Yeah, that running joke where he left to get away from Chandler Jones, and then Chandler Jones is here. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's a cute little thing, but again, though, I don't think Russell Wilson's the same Russell Wilson. So that's just me. Let's see. Just trying to put this in here. I'll type this real quick. I've been having problems with my system. It's not the new equipment. It's not the mic. The mic was fine. Had a little bit of things, but that was more of trying to figure out where I want to put the new camera. I decided to put it right above the old one. I think the point of view, the area was better. But it was just other things going on. But earbuds aren't really working. They're off and on. My keyboard was acting like it was possessed. So I did put the quiz out there. So how many teams do you think will make it in the AFC West? 1, 2, or 3? Obviously, we got to have at least one, a division winner. And then... and we could probably get 3. I mean, they have 3 wild cards now. I mean, conceivably, we could do all 4 now. I mean, I could have added 4. Not so sure about that. I mean, we still have some decent talent. I mean, I don't count out New England, and you got Buffalo there, Cincinnati, of course. Cleveland with Deshaun Watson will be very interesting as well. Can they get their act together? It looks like Watson will be able to play since he wasn't brought on trial. I'm wondering if they're going to even be able to suspend him league-wise. So they're going to be a tough nut to crack. Baltimore's always around there. That whole Lamar Jackson situation is going to be very interesting because they're not giving him an extension. So Yes, Saffron. Yes, there can be 4 with the 7th spot. I should have added the 4th one. So, personally, I'm gonna say three teams. I don't think all 4 are gonna make it, but I'll say division winner and 2 wild cards. That's definitely doable in my opinion. So. And as Sandy B has said, don't forget to hit the like button if you are enjoying this live stream, whether you're here live with us or if you're watching this on a replay. And if you are watching this on a replay, why not come out here and be with us live? And the best way to do that is to subscribe, hit your bell notification, set it to all. Then you'll be notified of all of this activity. And of course, hey, let me get the relic out as I usually do. So if you have one of these and you're not on a laptop, you got to set the YouTube notification on as well. Then you'll be notified of every time I drop a notification for a new live stream. I usually do that the day of. So let's see. Let's see where we are. We're pretty much tied between 2 and 3, it looks like. So yeah, I think 3. I think the Chiefs are perennial right now. I think they've lost a little bit. Like I said before, I think the Chiefs have come back to the pack, but they're still a good team. They're good enough to make the playoffs. Even if they don't win the division, if the Chargers or the Raiders end up winning the division, I think both those teams, all 3 of those teams have a shot at legitimately winning the West this year. Denver, I'm not so sure. I think it would take a huge effort from Russell Wilson or Devontae Williams becoming like Jonathan Taylor, and being like almost like being like an MVP type running back, like winning the rushing title. Otherwise, I'm not quite seeing that. I think they'll be in most games. They'll be close, but I would temper my expectation with Denver, and also. They mortgaged a lot. 2 firsts, 2 seconds. They weren't that close in the beginning. Let's be honest here. They weren't that close to winning a Super Bowl, let alone getting in the playoffs. I just don't see it. Maybe 5-6 years ago you make a deal like this if you could get Russell Wilson, but plus he's on a 2-year deal. You're going to have to pay, and after next offseason, you're going to have to pay him a shitload of money. You're going to have to extend him or he's going to be gone, right? So it makes no sense. Safwan Ben Malik says, Raiders, Chargers, and Chiefs are in. Donkeys, yeah. Again, I think Denver kind of screwed themselves. They tried to pull the Peyton Manning, and Not to say Russell Wilson sucks. It's an upgrade, and they're going to be competing, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough to give 2 firsts and 2 seconds away. It's not good enough. It reeks of desperation. It's like a Mark Davis 10-year, $100 million guaranteed head coaching contract. It's ridiculous. And like I said, I think the big one's going to be next offseason with Khalil Mack. I think the Chargers, unless he goes gangbusters and they want to keep him around, if he plays decently, they're probably going to cut him. They're not going to pay him $23 million next year. So is he going to be back with the silver and black? Is Carr going to lobby for him like you did with Devontae Adams? I don't know. And frankly, I don't know if there's a real good fit for him, to be honest with you, unless we go to a straight 3-4. We already have 2 defensive ends. We still got Chandler Jones, Max Crosby. And if we go out and get Khalil Mack, he needs to start. What's he going to be, outside linebacker? Stand up, maybe. I don't know. I think it's going to be too much money, to be honest with you. I wouldn't want him. I'm not going to pay over $20 million for him. Let's see. Guys, have anything else? If you're new here and you're watching, I usually go about an hour, and we're at 6:50 right now. So I'm going to take any final questions. We'll close this out. I do appreciate you guys coming in. I see a lot of people in chat. well, actually in the live stream, not necessarily in chat, which is okay. I would prefer you interact in chat, but if you just want to listen and maybe you're driving or working, I understand that. That's great. And you can come our next live stream. We usually live stream once a week, if not more. And we're going to be doing at least one more mock draft live stream, and those are really fun if you haven't been in one of those. Basically, we hit a few of the good websites, and we just run scenarios of mock drafts, who's available, how we can fill the holes on the team. It's a lot of fun. We did that before. We've actually done it twice this offseason. We did it a few times last offseason as well. And we're going to do it at least one more time. We got the NFL draft at the end of the year, or at the end of the month. And of course, we'll probably be live for that. And also we're going to be doing like post draft. What can we do? And then also I want to do another live stream based on the AFC West. How did these guys improve themselves after the draft? I mean, it's very intriguing. I mean, Kansas City needs more help in secondaries. I would say mainly at corner. Chargers need help in the middle. Denver, I would say they're not too bad overall. Still in the middle. I think the middle linebacker position is really not panned out for them. And nose tackles, so. And as far as we are, I want to see another tackle. I want to maybe see some a speedy threat on the outside. The Chiefs will probably do that as well, is my guess, to try to offset the loss of Tariq Hill. I'm guessing probably second, third, fourth round. Chiefs would do that. I'd like to see another offensive tackle, and the defensive tackle position, that would be nice to address as well. So. Hefe, welcome. I see you there. And yes, you are a Chiefs fan. And we talked about the Chiefs and how we can knock them off from their 6-time division championship pedestal. So if you weren't here for that, go ahead and watch the replay. But if you were, obviously you weren't responding, so that's okay. But yeah, you're all right, Hefe. Welcome you here as well. Israel says, I'd like to see the Raiders address the offensive line soon in order to help Carr utilize his offensive weapons this next offseason. I agree. Even with Josh McDaniels saying that he wants to give Leatherwood a chance at right tackle, I'm not convinced. I think he'll make it, but why can't we get a veteran, like I said, like a Bobby Massey, an average type guy? Why the hell are we signing Brandon Parker? Probably because he could play left side if we need him to as an emergency, but he sucked. He's terrible. And I just don't get it. We could probably pay Massey about the same amount as we got Parker for, around $3.5 million. And then, we're good to go. And I'm wondering what's going on in the interior of the guards too. Is good going to be good to go? Is John Simpson, are they okay with John Simpson? Are they going to address this? Are they just looking for best available, and maybe a good interior lineman falls to them in the third round? They snag him up. Who knows? It's going to be very interesting. So, yeah, Hefe, I see you in there. So, I do appreciate you guys all coming out here. We had about 15 or 16, 17. I'm looking at the viewership right now. A lot of people participating in the chat as well. Thank you guys for coming out. Look for us again. If you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe so you'll get the notifications, so you'll be here. Even Hefe, you can subscribe too and watch. I know the Kansas City Chiefs YouTube creators are not nearly as good as us Raider creators. I'll put money on that right now, I'll tell you. So anyway, thank you guys for coming out. I do appreciate you guys coming out and joining the chat and joining the live stream and liking and subscribing and doing all of the things, thank you very much again. And as always, go Raiders.
With all the distractions that you have off the field, how are you able to keep focused on winning football games as you do and do throughout the year?
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.